Right. Hello and welcome to my July on the farm update. I wouldn't normally have the same person 2 months in a row, but we've got Jonny James with us again, our agronomist. It's been a bizarre month. We started harvest on, I think it was, have a quick look. We started harvest on the 6th of July. So we spent the majority of this month harvesting. And with the exception of spring beans, we finished on the 24th of July. So it's been a very short, intense harvest. I think like the majority of people around the country, it's been a very disappointing harvest on many fronts. And that's why I wanted Jonny to come in, because we're sort of, everybody's coming up with lots of different theories as to why we've had such a poor harvest, because it looked very good, didn't it, Jonny, coming into harvest?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever known a year where we've had crops looking so full of potential and just being underwhelmingly disappointing, I think, across the board. Yeah, like you say, lots of reasons why, and there will be multiple reasons for yield loss. But I think probably typically we're looking at 20% plus down on yield, really.
Yeah.
If not more in some situations.
So we've completed everything with the exception of spring beans, and oilseed rape wasn't a complete disaster. We're not far off our sort of average 5-year yields. In fact, we might have a little bit more oilseed rape than we budgeted on. Winter barley wasn't a complete disaster. We didn't have that much of it. Obviously, it's not worth very much, which doesn't help. But the biggest disappointment for us has been the winter wheat. We are down significantly on what we expected. And as Jonny said, you're looking at a crop and you think this has got 10 tonne a hectare potential, and you end up with an average of 6 to 7 tonne a hectare. And some of the best ground we've got has performed the worst, the really high quality brick earth on the Chichester plain. I think that might be partly due to some BYVD down there as well.
Yeah, there's definitely, the stuff that was first planted on the heavy ground. I think there's a combination of, we had virtually no winter here, a lot of aphid pressure. There was quite a bit of virus out there. We did spray for it a couple of times, but the damage was already done. And I think in those situations, we've probably seen, an additional 2 or 3 tonnes a hectare yield loss from those aphids that have obviously transmitted significant virus pressure. So,
but when I go into blocks of wheat and I'm celebrating 8 tonnes a hectare, it's a bad year. So just to put things into perspective, I think we are about 500 tonnes light on where we should be in wheat. So the stores are pretty empty. So that's a significant shortfall in income or potential revenue in the future. So theories, everybody's coming up with theories as to why this has been the best harvest we never had. I think it's probably worse than 2012, although we've all got quality this year, I think, on the whole, which is good. So come on, Jonny. The theories are, obviously, it's got to be something to do with rainfall, temperature, BYDV.
yeah.
So what do you think could be?
Well, I think, we've just been looking at rainfall data. We've actually had more rain this spring than we did last spring.
So I've got some figures on that. That's interesting, because I don't know how accurate these are, but it comes from a weather station next to one of the farms. Between the 1st of March and the 30th of June, in 25, so 2025, we had 74 mil of rain on that farm.
Yeah.
This year, we had 141 mil. We've had double the amount of rain from the 1st of March to the 30th of June this year.
And I think that's evident in the crop. Crops never, yes, they were definitely suffering a little bit, but I think we had rain just at the end of May, early June, the right time for that rain. The rain came at the right time, and crops never really looked that short. They never looked that stressed. We didn't have that leaf curling.
There's no shortage of straw, is there?
No, and I think the spring crops, yes, they did suffer a little bit. You can see that on the lower leaves, but certainly the winter crops never looked drought stressed locally.
So I don't think it's a lack of rainfall. No. I'm coming to that conclusion. Yeah. So the next thing is obviously temperatures. If I look at that weather station, for that period in 25, the maximum temperature was 28.3 degrees. This year, it's over 35 degrees. Yeah. And I don't think it's just about the peak temperatures. It's about when we've had these heat waves. Would you agree?
Definitely. And, there's been loads of work done. And obviously with the changing climate that we're seeing globally, I think this is going to be a really key part. And we had 35-degree heat in that end of May period, 24th, 25th, 26th of May, just when crops were coming into flower, and also wheat crops specifically coming into flower. And that, I think, has done a lot of the damage. And you can find endless papers there, sort of talking about different damp yield damages. So I think, what we've essentially seen is a loss of grain sites, spikelets, which is why we've got quality. Specific weights are fairly decent across the board, high 70s, low 80s, but actually we just haven't got the quantity there.
Hindsight is a wonderful thing, but that, knowing what we know today, even with those temperatures at that time, we couldn't have then gone, right, we're going to be looking at 20% less yield, let's cut back on fertiliser. It's already gone on, hasn't it?
It has. I mean, other than the new foal that we topped up on later. I mean, interestingly, there's a paper that I was looking at from Australia, and they sort of talk about the critical temperature being 28 degrees. And for every hour above that 28 degrees, you get 281 grain sites per metre squared lost.
This is very scientific, isn't it?
It's quite scientific. And actually, when you start to tally that up, assuming you're roughly on a 460 ears per metre squared, you'd be looking at 22,000-ish ears. If you're losing over that period of time, we had about 20 hours roughly above 18 degrees, 28 degrees, sorry. You've lost nearly 4,000 to 5,000 grain sites,
right?
Which nearly tallies up to 2.5 tons. So the science kind of supports that data.
So that's where it's gone.
I think that's
so we've done nothing wrong.
Well, as crops look good coming to harvest.
Interestingly, if we had the ability or the finances to irrigate milling wheat in this country, would that have helped with those temperatures?
I don't know, because you would have cooled the crop slightly. There are farms locally on the lighter sand that did irrigate, and the yield was certainly no better.
No, so that wouldn't have helped.
So I don't think it would have been. I think this year, I think last year definitely there was an element of drought stress, no doubt. I think this year it's heat stress. I think has done most of the damage. Yes, there will have been areas that have droughted out on lighter ground, but on most of your soil type, it's fairly moisture retentive soil or on chalk. It does tend to hold on fairly well. So I think what we've seen predominantly is heat stress, and I think that's going to have to come from genetics. To heat stress built into plant genetics. I suppose you're right. That or flowering. And I think we've definitely seen a change on varieties. So Bamford's had quite a good year this year. Arnie's had quite a good year, and they're slightly earlier flowering.
Actually,
varieties.
the people around here that are talking of reasonable yields are often on Bamford and stuff like that.
And I think it's those varieties that just flowered slightly earlier. So you've got most of the flowering's completed probably by the time that
it is. I do find it interesting because I think a lot of farmers are fairly honest about their harvest, and I've noticed that there are farmers throughout the country that are saying it looks like it should be doing 10 tonne. We've only got 6 or 7 coming in the tank. But I have met farmers at a local cooperative who have had the best harvest ever. And when I look at the Weybridge tickets after they've left the office, they've still got over 15% protein on Group 1 milling wheat. Well, you don't get that with a decent yield. So there is still these pub talks. And interestingly, we're looking at yield maps now, aren't we? And there is huge variation across fields. I can find fields where we're doing over 10 tonne a hectare, points in fields where we're doing over 10 tonne a hectare. But the average is telling the whole story.
And I think the problem is those pockets that are doing over 10 tonnes, they look like they should have been doing 12, 13 tonnes.
Yeah, they would have been historically.
I think that's what we've seen is the farms and the fields that have done 10 tonnes look like they should have been doing 12, 13. So we're still that 20, 25% down on where we hope we'd be.
So we've had a very, very busy time harvesting this month. We would normally love hot, dry weather during harvest, but actually it's created a bit of an issue this year. A lot of the wheat has been harvested at 11 to 12%. There will be an element of yield loss there, won't there?
Yeah, definitely as a percentage,
And the reason we've done so much in such a short time is because I've been driving the combine from about 4 a.m. in oilseed rape. Then someone else takes over at sort of 10 o'clock in the morning, carries on harvesting rape as long as they can, or switches on to wheat. We did that for about a week this year. And it's amazing how much more capacity you get out of a combine when it's running for that length of time. So fortunately, we'll take some positives from this. It wasn't anything we did, I think.
I don't think so. The crops looked full of potential, didn't they?
Quality is good. Straw sales will be okay. Logistics are cheaper than normal.
No drying costs.
And I think also, just to touch on it, as a farming business, the reason we can put up with years like this, because we do get it, don't we? Hopefully not too regularly. The reason is because historically we've had BPS, now we've got SFI, and that helps us weather the peaks and troughs.
Yeah.
And, I hope people are realizing that, the SFI does quite a good job and we need it to continue. Unfortunately, this cap is disincentivizing big farms from getting bigger. And I think we're going to have to see farm businesses get smaller because 100K is not enough for most farm businesses to weather these troughs, is it?
No, and I think it's a shame really, because it's a land-based payment that should be spread across the land.
Yeah.
And obviously, things like cover crops, summer catch crops before spring barley.
Yeah.
It's all adding value to recycling nutrients and beneficial to insects and everything like that. So if that incentive disappears, then unfortunately there's going to be less environmental
spring
benefit.
barley's been a mixed bag for us, hasn't it? We've had some good, some on budget, some poor. I think the challenge we've got now is the poorer yielding spring barley is quite high nitrogen. So we're actually cleaning it to try and remove the smaller grains in the hope that will lower the nitrogen levels. So we'll see. Samples are going off at the moment to see how that's working.
I think spring barley probably is more moisture related rather than heat related.
Yeah.
But
because
you could see certainly early on the lighter ground, we were losing those lower leaves early on, and they were quite thin. They didn't tiller as well. So I think the spring crops, I'm sure, will be moisture related more than.
So we don't think it's my fault. We don't think it's your fault. Nothing you've done. But we need to work out a way to combat this ever-changing climate. Yeah. And, accelerating and better plant breeding. I know there's a lot going on with that, but that's what we need, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's so tricky when so much of your cost is up front. You are spending hundreds of pounds a hectare before that heat wave came in.
It's a high risk game now, isn't it?
You'd put 240 kilos of nitrogen on before that point. You'd had the full fungicide program by the year spray.
Yeah.
So it's a high
we
risk.
will take another positive from this. Well, I've gained a month in my year, haven't I?
You've got plenty of time.
I will actually see the kids during their summer holidays. I don't know if that's good. I think that's good. So, right. Thank you very much,
Brilliant.
Jonny.
No, good.
Very interesting looking at the data and the weather and trying to work out what's happened.
Yeah.
Be useful if it was something we could have more of an impact on.
Definitely.
All right.
But it's certainly the first time I think we've ever seen 35 degrees in May, isn't it? So it's I think that's
it's bizarre.
Been a bit of a lesson for us all.
Thank you very much, Jonny.
Brilliant.
All right.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.